Hey guys, this really doesn't count as a video, but I recently got into a group of other Lucky Star fans to make a long video. Actually, more like long video essay on Lucky Star. The video covers all aspects of Lucky Star, and it's worth a watch. It's a collaboration between Kona Kona, Kagami, Deadpants182, Hanson, Salvador Dali, Toterum, and myself. This video is just a collection of all the parts that I was involved in, but I suggest that you watch the entire video over on Kona's channel if you want the whole experience. The link will be down in the description. But without further ado, enjoy. For this section, I'm going to start by asking you what you think moe means. Just get that definition in your head. I'll give you a second. You got it? Alright. I'm willing to bet that for the majority of you, you use words like cute, clumsy, and sweet. And I'm also willing to bet that most of you also thought of a few characters that you believe represent the concept of moe. If so, then your definition of moe isn't wrong. However, here's the definition of moe that I'll be using throughout this video, just for some clarification on what this part of the video will be about. So, in essence, moe is an urge to protect a character in a show. The feeling that the 2D PNG image on screen is worth protecting and keeping safe. Though, when I say that, I'm not talking about the people who get up in arms when someone criticizes their waifu. Those people are just crazy. No. What I'm actually talking about is a harmless feeling of seeing a character in a show you like and wanting them to stay the same. Moe often doesn't have any storytelling or character development, and that's on purpose. It wouldn't be moe if Tsukasa grew up and lost her innocence. The point of moe is to have the characters' personalities be unchanging. This also ties into the fact that moe characters are often young. Their unchanging personalities also apply to their age. Having the characters be static in every way is absolutely intentional. Now that begs the question, how do you have a story with static characters? And the answer in this case is to make them a little quirky. And I know that word has a bad rep to it, but when I say quirky, I'm not talking about the need to feel special. I mean that the characters act slightly outside the standard deviation of normal when presented with a given situation. These girls aren't the Joker level of strange, but they're also not the generic anime protagonist of predictable either. With the definition of moe cleared up, let's talk about how it applies to Lucky Star. With half of the main cast of characters being classified as moe, it helps explain a lot in the show. Since moe characters don't grow up nor grow old, it explains why the story of Lucky Star is non-existent. Tsukasa will never graduate from high school, not because she's dumb, but because there's no part of the story where she grows old enough to graduate from high school. Miyuki will never become a doctor, not because she can't get accepted into medical school, but because the end of the story is intentionally cut out. The only reason that Yutaka is short is because the writers want to keep her static, and not having her grow tall is one way to accomplish that. The point of Lucky Star is to be moe, even if all the characters aren't moe themselves. But since half the main cast is moe, the story has to go at their own pace. So for those of you who are disappointed in Lucky Star's story, this is why. The story cannot progress, as that requires the characters to change in some way. Either by getting older, getting wiser, or by going through difficult situations. Because moe is designed around unchanging characters, the story in Lucky Star will never advance too far. Besides that, Lucky Star nails the other characteristics of moe. Cuteness, check. Clumsiness, check. Quirkiness, check. Let's go quickly through all of these points. Cuteness. Lucky Star characters are a sort of mix between normal anime proportions and chibi proportions. They have normal sized bodies, but large heads. Most of their faces' real estate is taken up by their eyes, and their mouths are purposely small to fit with the cute art style. Every moe character in the show also has a high-pitched voice, which can be annoying to some, but is all intentional. Onto clumsiness, and this one is pretty evident after you've watched a few episodes. The clumsiness of some of these characters is comical. There's no way a real person could ever actually act like this, but it's one of the ways to get moe characters to actually do something. Lastly, quirkiness. Let's face it, some of the characters in Lucky Star are pretty strange. Instead of a deep, complicated story, Lucky Star has character drama play out for most of the runtime. This helps keep the moe characters moe while still giving them something to do on screen. And I think that's a good place to leave it. I'll be back later in the video to talk about early thousands nostalgia, but until then I'll leave you with Beams Trigger and Dali to talk a little bit more in depth about the lack of story. How does it hold up today? Well, that's a good question. For many, it may very well not hold up at all. But for fans like me, the fact that it doesn't hold up so well is its greatest strength. See, Lucky Star is a show that's very much a product of its time. You feel like you're being time warped to 2007 whenever you watch this show. The quirkiness of Lucky Star is something that I haven't seen in any other show in recent years. No other show references the studio's previous work as much as Lucky Star does. No other show has the voice actors fooling around in the credit sequences. It's stuff like that that I feel makes it a completely different show from the anime airing today. But back to whether or not it holds up in the modern era. Well, in all technical aspects, it very much does. Despite what some online videos might make you believe, it's actually available in a high definition in a 16:9 aspect ratio. In terms of fidelity, it certainly holds up today. But besides technical details, it holds up mainly due to how different it was to shows at the time. Look at any middle-of-the-road show in the late 2000s. They all have a certain look to them, just as middle-of-the-road shows nowadays have a certain sameness to them. The shows you probably remember from the late 2000s were probably those that had a unique story, art style, or both, and Lucky Star certainly has the art style covered. Its soft and squishy moe art style certainly stands out among anime, not just at the time, but even nowadays. It's certainly a unique look, and one that I personally love watching. It's fun to see how the characters squish up against each other, and just how expressive they can be while still being soft and squishy. As someone who discovered Lucky Star only very recently, I really do think it holds up today. After watching modern anime, it's nice to have a change of pace. It's fun to see an anime like Lucky Star every once in a while. Modern anime certainly have their strong suits, but sometimes you just want to sit back and get comfy, and Lucky Star is perfect for that. It doesn't have a long, complicated story you have to remember in order to follow along. Its lighthearted tone means that you won't ever feel worse after watching it. It also isn't so gorgeous that you can't look away for fear of missing a beautiful scene. It's a show that doesn't demand your full attention, which is what makes it so much more fun to watch. Despite it not demanding your full attention, there's still tons of little details and fun references for those who choose to watch. In a vacuum, compared to the shows airing today, Lucky Star's core strength lies in how old it is. While I feel that we're going through a kind of renaissance with quirky, weird anime, Lucky Star's quirkiness is different from the anime airing today. Nowadays, the quirkiness comes from an idea that's outside the standard deviation of what's considered normal. But Lucky Star is a very normal anime at its base, but with some quirky flair added on top. No other show has a cast of characters messing around in the credits. No other show has so many pop culture references, and no other show has the same laid-back attitude of 2007. But I'll save that part for later. I'll see you guys in a bit to discuss the moe aspect of Lucky Star, right after Kona takes the stage and tells you about what Lucky Star is trying to be. See you then! Do you remember what happened in 2007? Chances are you probably remember certain key events like the first iPhone being launched, but that's not the only thing that happened in 2007. In 2007, you were probably buying extra Wiimotes so you can play some Wii with your friends. You were also probably trying to torrent a 240p fan-subbed episode of your favorite anime at 1 MB per second on your desktop tower PC. And I'm willing to guess that one of those anime you were torrenting was Lucky Star because of how ubiquitous it was back in the day. And I believe that one of the reasons why it was so ubiquitous was because of how many references there are in Lucky Star. There's references to Haruhi, Initial D, Gade, Mirai Nikki, Fate, Gundam, Fullmetal Alchemist, Street Fighter, Fullmetal Panic, Detective Conan, Dragon Quest, Hatsune Miku, Nintendo, Sony, Shin-Chan, Comtech, Monster Hunter, Air, Final Fantasy, McDonald's, Code Geass, and so many more. Despite the references to pop culture, the entire show really does like to show off just how early thousands it is. All the TVs are huge and bulky, Konata's monitor is 4x3, and they all use flip phones. It's really incredible just how different a world 2007 seems to us just 15 years onward. Aside from the technology, one thing this show has that really makes it feel like a blast from the past is its attitude. You can see it everywhere, but especially in the unique ending credit sequences in the second half. There, you can see staff members just having fun and fooling around on camera. It's basically just Shiraishi Minoru doing random things and singing while other staff members just kinda mess around in the back. It has such a childish experimentation to it all. The staff at Kyoto Animation were probably wondering how they could fill all the credit sequences in the second half. The sequences in the first half were just the characters singing popular songs against a static image that zoomed out a bit. So I feel that they wanted the second half's credits to really stand out and be engaging. And to this day, it's the most hilarious credit sequence I've ever seen. Shiraishi sings songs, sure, but it's all live action with video editing that's very reminiscent of 2007. Text flies across the screen, the colors and resolution of the camera look about right for the time, and the special effects were on point for that time period. These sequences reflect what comedy was like quite well back then. You have a character be placed in the real world, put them in an absurd situation, and then have them fool around and push the limits of your situation until you're done. It has such a youthful curiosity to it all. Seeing how they can push the envelope and make their audience laugh, or see what crazy situation they can put Shiraishi through. All of that mixed in with the 2007 look and feel of the camera makes it an iconic moment in the series. It's kind of like how you probably experimented with the games you played when you were a kid, like seeing how to beat a Mario or Sonic level, or maybe even experimenting in Bad Piggies or Minecraft if you're really young, going to school and seeing what new cheat codes or secret levels your friends found. It's that youthful experimentation and curiosity that makes Lucky Star so different from shows nowadays. The staff members sound like they're having a blast behind the scenes. I can only imagine what it was like on the road trip where they filmed all these Shiraishi Minoru credit sequences. With all of that being said, it's time to finally end this deep dive into Lucky Star. I'll pass the mic over to Kona one last time so he can see you out. Take care, everyone.